Grammy time, right around the corner, January 31st, a little bit earlier than they typically have them this year. And it feels a bit in thinking about who is going to be dominating the awards nominations. Like this might be the year where the real youth movement comes into it. We obviously had Billie a couple of years back, Billie Eilish a couple of years back, winning pretty much every major category. I think it was every major category for her first album. And that felt a bit like, okay, the Grammys are trying to be more hip, more with it. But this year, it seems pretty poised that not only is Billy going to get some nominations, Lil Nas X, if you're watching YouTube, behind Dave, and then Olivia Rodrigo all have chances to have major nominations, potentially major wins. Are the Grammys trying to be more in touch with what's actually popular in music?
It's not a bad question because there might be some truth to it. The weekend last year, infamously not nominated for Blinding Lights, not nominated for After Hours, really pissed off the weekend, and he chose to focus a lot of his efforts on the anonymous nominating committees that defined how the Grammy ballots were originally shaped
Mm.
for the broad swath of Academy voters. Those committees are no longer here. So it tends to reason that a lot of the blockbustery albums, more popular stuff, will probably start rising up because it's more of a popular vote type thing than it has been in the past. So obviously it will take some time, take some years to determine if this ultimately is a good thing by seeing what's nominated. But it just seems like the Academy, Recording Academy, just kind of gets to vote now, based off obviously what's submitted by the artists and the labels. So yeah, I think this might lend itself to being at least a little bit more in touch. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I feel optimistic. It's interesting because in doing the research for this, like on the one hand, I see Billie Eilish, Olivia Rodrigo, Lil Nas X, like Doja Cat being mentioned in there, and I'm like, okay, these are definitely popular artists that have risen quickly. Maybe getting recognition right off the bat, not having to like pay their dues, so to speak. But then I also see like her, potentially getting nominated. I'm just like, sometimes they just can't get out of their own way, and so I never really know exactly what to expect from the Grammy nomination. So uh, I'm interested to see what we decide on as the locks and which ones seem more on the fringe. Why don't we start though with best new artist, because I think there's a lot to dig into there, and I'm really excited to see how they go about this. So we'll start with just saying Olivia Rodrigo is almost a sure thing, right? Like she's going to be nominated. She's going to be probably a focal point of the award show in general, and I'm sure she's going to want to play along as well. After that, I mean, maybe Polo G is a sure thing. I hope so, right?
Yeah, so I mean, as we talked about last year with the Grammys, Best New Artist is very confounding definition and eligibility requirements as an award. Part of that, you can be submitted 3 times, meaning 3 different years. Seems kind of antithetical to the definition of new. Also, I still can't really wrap my head around it because, as we know, Polo G, as well as even NBA YoungBoy, are somehow eligible for Best New Artist, even though their debut albums came out in 2019. YoungBoy, in particular, has been around for years and years, dominating YouTube for years. I don't know how you can say that his impact happened in the last Grammy cycle. Obviously, it happened before that. So I just don't understand Best New Artist to this day. But on the other hand, that means there's a lot of people in the mix that are quote unquote worthy of such an honor,
Mhm.
whether they're new or not. I mean, shit, Blackpink is somehow eligible for Best New Artist still. They debuted in
Unbelievable.
2016 to a lot of fanfare and success.
Dude, Glass Animals is eligible. Glass
Doesn't make
Animals. They have 3 records that have been like beloved in indie rock and alternative spheres. I can't believe that they're eligible.
because they have
Um
that one pop hit now. Like it
it
doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make
Blackpink's
any sense.
album, the album came out last fall, somehow keeping them new. I don't understand.
Yeah. Imagine
Coachella was 2019 when
I
they
was
had
about to
their
say
amazing set.
a new artist basically like blowing up at Coachella with like the most people at their stage. Like that's just it just doesn't make any sense. Um, so it is a bit like whatever. They just want to get some big names out there. After Olivia Rodrigo, after Polo G, which I think we both would agree he will probably be up there. The Kid Leroy also seems likely
Hmm.
to get a
Yeah,
nomination. Doing big numbers. The Bieber tie seems certain. Who else
he'll
is up
stay.
there for you?
Yeah, so those all make sense. I would say Blackpink need to be nominated if they're
Yeah.
eligible. That's just egregious.
Hmm.
If they weren't. I mean, there's some other K-pop acts too, like Twice and Monsta X, which are actually older than Blackpink. That's still eligible. I don't understand, but I feel like Blackpink's the one that they would go with there. Rina Sawayama, which I thought was a great pick last year, still apparently eligible. I love that album. I
Nominator.
love that EP. Need to pick that.
Yep.
Those make sense to me. You know, Phineas is eligible as a performer, even though he's won multiple Grammys in support of Billy, because he didn't win them as a performer, he can be nominated for Best New Artist. On the other hand, that debut album that just came out, was outside his Grammy period, so it's really more about the singles and the first EP. You have to imagine the Grammy Recording Academy is so in the bag for the Billie Eilish, Phineas O'Connell
Mhm.
family operation that Phineas is probably getting in there.
Yeah, it's. I think he probably will, just especially because he has actually won alongside Billy before. I mean, I'm sure he probably has the trophy somewhere in his office or recording studio,
Yeah,
but uh, I don't know. That it's just so disappointing, especially when there's so many good people.
right.
Saweetie is eligible. We
Another
mentioned
one that's questionable to me in terms of newness.
it doesn't make any
Icy Girl
sense.
was years ago.
Yeah, but Sweetie seems someone that should be nominated. Like I mentioned, Glass Animals. I'd like to see Arlo Parks get some love.
Yeah, I think that
We did.
one's pretty likely.
I hope so, because we didn't like love uh, her new album, but I think we feel like there's so much potential there that you have to kind of
Right.
highlight it. Um, yeah, I mean, there can probably be 10 people nominated for this. It feels
Yeah,
like every year.
it's a pretty deep list traditionally. And there are some people that aren't eligible. If you won a Grammy already, you can't win Best New Artist. So Jack Harlow, notably, or nominated, not even win. Jack Harlow, Kali Uchis, they cannot be up in here. Morgan Wallen is ineligible for different reasons. It has nothing to do with his controversy, apparently, but more about the determined impact of his previous songs. Again, very hard to understand, but seems like he's not there. On the other hand, Ava Max is somehow eligible with Sweet But Psycho. What the fuck, dude? Like
Sure. Okay.
that song went
Yes.
top 10 in 2019 after being around for ages. We know how long she's been around and how, but again, like June 2019 is when the song hit the top 10. How the fuck is that make you news still? I don't get it. 24K Golden, Flo Milli, I don't like him too much, but Don Tolliver. There's a lot of hip hop here.
Mhm.
Japanese Breakfast, Baby Keem. Um, I think you can make a really good list. It's just a matter about who they end up picking.
Yeah.
Uh, Bo
Uh,
Burnham also surprisingly is eligible for this.
is
I think,
eligible. Oh.
yeah, because of the impact of the music associated with Inside is kind of the implication. Obviously, Bo Burnham not new in
Mhm.
the literal sense, newer in the music sense, I guess. But that would also kind of feel weird to me. But I mean, yeah, you can you they there should be no reason why this is not a very stacked list with really good artists slash really popular artists, right? Like
Yeah,
Kid
and
popular side, Olivia, Kid Leroy, Polo, they all feel pretty safe, but Blackpink should be there. On the other hand, I would love to see Rina, as we said, Japanese
mhm.
Breakfast, Julian Baker, someone you can make a really great best new artist category, I think.
Yeah, and of course you're gonna get some of the ones that we have not reviewed their music. People like Gabby Barrett and Mainskin seem fairly likely to be nominated as well. So there's a lot of people here. Outside of Rodrigo, Leroy, Polo G, Blackpink, Glass Animals, I would love to see Julian Baker get that nomination. I'd love to see Japanese breakfast, like you mentioned, and Rena would just be like, if we get Rena on there, dude,
Yeah.
that's when you know that they're actually like tuning into the music and not just like, oh, this person has a name people recognize. So, would love that. But why don't we move on to album of the year? And we'll work our way down to the songs, I think. So, album of the year, again, we kind of already mentioned this. Billie Eilish and Olivia Rodrigo are probably going to get a lot of nominations. So you have to expect Happier Than Ever and Sour to be nominated. But after that, what else are you thinking is a lock for album of the year?
Yeah, so Billy won 2 years ago. Last year, album of the year was won by Taylor Swift with Folklore. Seems logical that Evermore, which is from this current eligibility period, you have to imagine Evermore is probably there. I would not pick it to win, but I feel like Evermore is a very safe bet to be nominated. Also, I'd like to think Casey Musgrave's Starcrossed will be
Mm.
nominated, coming out right at the end of the eligibility period. But of course, Casey won Album of the Year for Golden Hour 3 years ago. So, you have three Grammy darlings, Billy, Taylor, and Casey, all going up for this big award. You have to reason. And after that, I think is where it gets more interest, right? And I think where the populism of the voting perhaps can start to show itself, right? Because you got a lot of other big artists, really famous mainstream A-listers that drop stuff, whether it was this year or the very end of 2020, and trying to pick exactly how that shakes out, I think is probably a little difficult. But there's a ton of huge names here, and this is probably where we'll see just how far the BTS run can go. Can BTS get B nominated for Album of the Year? That'd be great if that happened. To be honest, obviously we're going to talk about Butter in a minute. Like they're going to be nominated in the song categories, but if they also can get an album up there, that'd be huge. Heck, even if it's just like pop vocal album and not album beater, that'd be big. But
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff running for album of the year.
yeah. Butter, like you mentioned, seems like a lock for song and or record of the year. Again, how do you define those? Is uh, always a mystery, kind of. But that would be enormous to get B up there, and I would be super pumped. Man, it almost would feel too good to be true if they did, but it would definitely be deserving. Especially looking at like, I don't feel like this is necessarily like particularly strong album list of
I
albums of
agree.
the year. Like like Lil Nas X, I think you might have mentioned Montero is
Mm,
likely to probably be nominated.
yeah,
But then you also have like Casey Musgrave's Starcrossed, and while Starcrossed I think is a solid album, doesn't live up to Casey Musgrave's highest standards, and
right.
probably would just be kind of uh, living off her name. Uh, Other albums that are likely or are rumored or favored to be nominated, things like "Back of My Mind" from her. Um, that album we did not like at all, and is very samey, and would just be them writing her as an artist that the Grammys love for whatever reason. Justin Bieber's "Justice," while I think having some return to form moments for Bieber, not his strongest stuff, and would feel again like you're just kind of putting Justin Bieber in the category.
Mm.
Um, so then you
How
look
about
at,
Drake with Certified Lover Boy?
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, great point. I mean, out of all of those, probably the worst and least inspired of his albums for sure. And so then you're like, would they put "Call Me If You Get Lost" by Tyler in there? Seems like a long shot, but it's probably the best album. Period. At least best rap album of the year, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Oh yeah.
It should be in there, but I just
I
don't know
agree.
if they're going to have the balls to do it. Something like "Good News" from Giveon feels like a
You
very
mean
Grammy
Megan?
pick. Oh, sorry. When It's
Yeah.
All Said and Done, by "Take Time" by Giveon. I was
Yes.
looking at this list wrong. Feels likely to
In
be in
R&B categories
contention.
anyway.
Yeah, but like, is that an album you've heard a lot about? I've heard maybe a couple of tracks really pop off, but not huge love for the album. So I don't
Right.
know. Good News does deserve to be in there for Megan, I would say though.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Megan had a big year last year with Savage Remix winning twice. So, but like to what you're saying, like Little Nas X, I'd wager that Montero is not the best Little Nas Lil Nas X album when it's all said and done. It's more of a work in
Hmm.
progress than anything else. And nominating Montero is really a recognition of his popularity and his stardom and potential than anything else, I'd say. I feel like Doja Cat's Planet Her is a pretty safe bet for this. I
Mm,
think it's
yeah.
definitely a safe bet for pop vocal, but Doja Cat's a huge A-list artist and has been for quite some time now. And I would bank on this one. But yeah, I mean, there's probably some people we're not thinking of too much. Could Halsey sneak in here? It wasn't her most popular album, but one of her, if not her most celebrated.
Hmm.
Ariana Grande positions the least liked of the last three Ari albums, but she's so popular and so big. Kanye West Donda. In a sense, it'd be kind of interesting if they picked Donda maybe instead of Certified Lover Boy. I don't know if I see it though.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Yeah, and that was kind of a thought I just had. I was like, yeah, like album of the year, it's not my favorite year to pick one, honestly. Like in terms of stuff that can actually be nominated. It's
Hmm.
like you look at our top 10 albums list that we've done and we're about to do again. You know, a lot of that stuff doesn't get nominated, so it is what it is. You know, and this year it's like yeah, like Evermore. I mean, it's not as good as Folklore, right? Let's move on
Right.
from there. I said everything about Nas X, Bieber, Justice, like you said, it's better than Changes, but that's
Hmm.
not the that we shouldn't hang our hat on that because Changes was bad, you
Yep.
know. So
Yeah.
yeah, this is kind of a tough one for me, honestly. I don't really know what's gonna happen.
I would kind of expect maybe Bad Bunny to get a nomination there
That'd be
for El
huge.
Ultimo Tour del Mundo.
Yeah,
Um,
they bricked this last year. You like to see if this happens, right? Burna
yeah.
Boy, Bad Bunny weren't able to rise up beyond the genre categories they're kind of placed in.
Hmm.
Will the new voting help a Bad Bunny, help a Whiz Kid? You know,
Yeah.
I'd like to see it, just like I like to see BTS finally break through too. But I also kind of need to see it first before I start predicting it.
I would also be really surprised, but pleasantly surprised if Bo Burnham were to sneak in with a nomination for this. Inside, I feel like could either have a really big night or they just totally ignore, and it feels like it's not going to be somewhere in the middle for me.
Yeah, I believe it's being submitted in like the visual media category thing. So I don't know if that means it can be an
Mm,
album of the year. I don't actually know. Again, it's the Grammys. It's kind of hard to figure this stuff out often. A
there's
lot
no
of times the
rules.
decisions aren't publicized right away. So yeah, it feels like Will Burnham's going to have a presence though at
Hmm.
this. He's somehow eligible for Best New Artist, as we said. So it's very weird. But yeah, I mean, just thinking of like anyone else in pop. I don't know. Because like again, Adele, Silk Sonic, they're not going to be nominated here because they're not eligible. Um,
It'd be very Grammys to nominate the Tony Bennett and Lady Gaga
yeah,
album, and just be like, "Oh, no one listened to this, but Love for Sale is one of the
yeah.
best albums of the year." It's like, okay, sure.
Coldplay's not eligible. Ed Sheeran's not eligible. On the other hand, though, Miley Cyrus from last year is eligible.
Hmm.
Sam Smith, kind of forgot about that album. That's eligible. He's been celebrated in the past. You know,
Sam
I feel
Smith
like
would be tough for me.
I'm
That
kind
I
of
didn't really
grasping
like
at
that.
straws, though. They're not going to nominate the Avalanches. We love that album. That's not happening.
Yeah,
Um,
Little Sims is not being nominated.
yeah,
So
Shawn Mendes. I think he's pop vocal only. His chances.
uh,
So it's
yeah,
yeah, the big awards, it might just be super popularist and be, decent. And then again, that's also gonna be reflective of the year we've had, and that's okay, you know?
hmm,
You just gotta
absolutely.
understand that context.
Um, so it looks like there's a handful that seem like locks, and then a couple on our wish list. Probably Call Me If You Get Lost, Good News,
Right.
um, things like that.
BTSB.
Yes. Um, so we'll see if any of those pan out. Why don't we look at the best song and or record of the year? And again, do you have a good way of delineating what falls into which category for this
So I already forget which is which, but one of them is supposed to be more about like the
competition?
music construction, like the sheet music, as it were, of the song.
think that's record. Has to be.
Yeah, I think that's record, like the recording,
Yeah.
you know? And song
Right.
is like the whole package, including vocals, hard to delineate. And it feels like, from what I've gathered, most artists are just submitting one song in both categories, besides trying to pick one for each,
Mhm.
which makes it even harder to determine the
Yep.
difference. So we're just kind of, I think we should just talk about it as one big thing.
Well, and it's interesting because like Olivia Rodrigo, when you think about her this year, driver's license dominated the first half of the year, but I really feel like Good for You has been the song that has stuck since the album dropped. And driver's license is the one that she's pushing. Kind of the same for Lil Nas X pushing Montero, it seems. When I would say Industry Baby is probably the song from that album that
Oh,
stands out most.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
it's like the choices are very interesting, but I expect both of those, Montero and driver's license, to
Yeah.
get noms, as well as Happier Than Ever seems like a lock. What else is up there for you?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that all makes sense. Happier Than
Butter.
Ever seems to be the Billy lock. I'd
Mhm,
pick their
mhm,
4 a.m. personally, but yeah,
mhm.
seems like it's there. Leave the Door Open, Silk Sonic. Lead single is
Yeah.
eligible, of course, even though the album isn't. Um, that's a lock for sure. And probably one of the best picks to win, honestly. Uh, Probably doesn't win. I don't know. I'm not actually sure who wins, unless Olivia just has the Billie Eilish night where she just kind of sweeps the big awards with Best New Artist and just a
Mhm.
coronation of a new pop force. In hindsight, that might be easy to understand. But if that
Mhm.
doesn't happen, then I'm not really sure what directions we go in. Like it seems like a Taylor Swift Evermore song is going to get nominated here. I believe she submitted Willow, but like I can't imagine there's
Please
a ton of
no.
enthusiasm for that the way there was for other stuff with Taylor. You never know though.
Yeah, please no. So you mentioned before Doja Cat. I think "Kiss Me More" with SZA seems
Yes,
like a lock for this.
that's
BTS
that's
"Butter" you
just for sure.
mentioned, yeah, seems like a lock. Um, yeah, I was just even looking here. I don't even know. Like,
Bieber could be in the mix twice here with Peaches from him, and then the Kid Leroy Stay featuring Bieber.
hmm,
Both
that's
big
true.
songs. I bet one of them gets there at the very least. To be honest, um,
It'd be interesting to see if Dua Lipa with the baby gets nominated for
so
"Levitating" because it's
so it's
eligible.
so it seems like she did not submit Levitating remix for anything.
Oh, good,
Right.
good
Obviously,
for her.
Levitating original not eligible because that album was last Grammys, but because of the remix and the impact of the remix, she technically could have submitted this year. She decided not to. Totally cool with me. She had a great
Mhm.
Grammys last time, so that's cool. Um, you know, we'll get to BTS in a second, but other than that, like I don't know like what's else is really supposed to be in the mix. Like we're picking a Billy song, we're picking a Taylor song, Driver's License, Call Me by Your Name, Montero, Leave the Door Open, one or two Bieber songs, and then what? Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran or Positions by Ari. Like they're just kind of pop songs, big pop singles, and that's it. It's not like so. I'm sure there'll be artists that we're not thinking about, not as popular, right? Maybe a Chris Stapleton song or something, or not, please no, but maybe another Her song, in this category.
A her song will get in there. It looks like "Damage" is the one that she might be pushing right now. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. SZA, "Good Days," which is a song that I actually don't know if I know
It's all
or
right.
can recall.
It's all right.
Seems like it's up there. Man, we haven't even mentioned Lana Del Rey. Dropped 2 albums. Do you think maybe she'll get any
So
buzz?
yeah, so Chemtrails is eligible this year. Blue Banisters is not. Obviously, the last time around for Lana, Norman fucking Rockwell was nominated for Album of the Year, and rightfully so. I don't have quite the same enthusiasm for Chemtrails, but maybe the Recording Academy does. Be smart not to count her out. She's definitely a greater contender, I guess.
Is WAP eligible? I'm looking
No,
through a list
WAP
here and I
came out
see
summer
August
2020s.
2020, so I guess it's
Yeah,
not eligible at this point. Brandy Carlisle seems like her name is popping up on odds websites. Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it's gonna be a real mishmash. For like those last couple, but
right.
Man, I don't know. It's uninspiring for some reason this year. I'm
Right. And that's why all my eggs are behind BTS with Butter. By
Mhm.
all accounts, they only submitted Butter, but they did have 3 number ones this year with Butter, Permission to Dance, and the Coldplay feature My Universe. Coldplay didn't submit My Universe. They submitted Colorama, whatever that song's called, instead. But yeah, BTS Butter, you know, number one for 10 weeks. A great song. It's basically Dynamite too. They nominated Dynamite last year in a pop group performance. I expect Butter to be in that category too, but I think Butter should definitely be in record slash song of the year. And,
Yeah.
after driver's license, maybe it's the second most votes. I would not be surprised if it's right up there and perhaps almost wins the award, if not does, because it's totally justified.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see them get that win. I bet Positions will make it into either record or song of the year just because Ari's a name, and I think the song has gotten a lot of legs after the album. I could also see the Foo Fighters maybe getting a
Hmm.
nomination, maybe for like Making a Fire or something like that. Actually, speaking of that, not going to be nominated, but the Mark Ronson remix of that is so much better than the original.
Mm.
So check that out if you like that. St. Vincent, I think will probably get some rock nominations, or maybe alternative is what
Yeah.
she's
Hmm.
putting herself into, but she'll be up there for rock. It feels like there's a chance that it's going to be like a couple of like elder statesmen, Paul McCartney or Springsteen are both eligible. One of them, or maybe even both, will probably get nominated for best rock album. And then it might be some new people. War on Drugs is probably also likely to get
Well, they're
nominated.
not eligible. That just came out.
Oh, it's not eligible. Okay, so then you're probably looking at, like you mentioned, Miley before.
Yep.
Hmm. Then
John
probably
Mayer is
Foo.
in the mix.
Please,
Sob
Sob
Rock.
Rock. No, no.
How about
Coldplay.
Coldplay's not in the mix
Oh,
either.
too soon. Okay.
Yeah, Greta Van Vliet second album is Greta Van Vliet's debut EP won Grammys.
Yeah, Grammy darling right there.
Wouldn't surprise me. You mentioned the Foo Fighters.
Dave, what about MGK?
That's the thing. Machine Gun Kelly had a very successful pivot to pop punk, at least commercially. And maybe look into his reception at some metal festivals recently. It's not all good for MGK and the rock community, but given his popularity, given the acceptance of this pivot in the industry, certainly more accepted than his hip hop had been,
Mhm.
I wouldn't be shocked. I really wouldn't be, even if I think it's kind of a callous, clearly brand managed pivot. The album was big, and
It was.
with this kind of populist voting, I wouldn't be shocked to see it rise up. I don't know. Then again, you might have more traditionalist people in the Recording Academy that had totally rejected that album. We really got to see it happen. Um, you mentioned Halsey before. I think she's in the alternative category though, not the traditional
Mhm.
rock category. She's not really up against those guys. But
I
there's
hope
actually a
Miley gets
fair amount of
nominated.
yeah. There's a fairly high amount of high profile rock acts in the mix this year. That's not often the
Mhm.
case.
Yeah, I think as long as Miley gets nominated, I would feel pretty happy with that. Um, yeah, I'm trying. I don't even know who else I would really like be jazzed about that's in
Kings of
this.
Leon.
No, no. I mean, the album wasn't as bad as maybe we said it was at the time, but it's just kind of
Right.
meh. Um,
Yeah. St. Vincent would be cool, I guess.
yeah, I mean, and she gets a lot of love from the Academy, or the Academy, yeah, from the Grammys. Um, but Dave, give me a quick rundown of who you think will get nominated for best rap album.
Best rap albums loaded with famous people, right? Last year, best rap album was loaded with old heads. Freddie
Mhm.
Gibbs, D Smoke, Nas. Somehow not Run the Jewels though. Now, we have a lot of really famous rappers that have been nominated before. Drake, Kanye, J. Cole, Tyler the Creator, 21 Savage. That's my top five right now. Certified Lover Boy, Donda, Call Me If You Get Lost, The Off Season, and Savage Mode 2. Savage Mode 2 eligible from last year. Mr. Right Now, contender for best rap song. Song
Hell yeah.
rules. I think that's a really great rap category. The expectation should be that Tyler wins. Then again, if Drake gets nominated for album of the year, maybe he also would win the lesser category. One stands to reason. That didn't happen last year, though. Dua beat Taylor Swift at Pop Vocal Album, and then Taylor won Album of the Year. So it is possible. I'd be rooting for Tyler hard in this because he actually made a real rap album this time. Remember, he criticized the Grammys when he won for Igor. He said, "This isn't really rap, but you still put me in rap anyway because that's what you do with black people."
Mhm.
I'd love to see Tyler win here, but I think that that's a really stacked category, and
Yeah.
there's no one really in the mix to crash it unexpectedly or undeservingly, right? So I'm feeling good about it.
Eh, if, I think for me, it's call me if you get lost, and then everything else. Really, that it just
Yeah,
feels so far apart from the others. But yeah, I think it is strong this year, and we talked about like Kanye and Drake and how their names are being thrown out there. I hope they don't get the nominations that other could go to some other more deserving people. But
I'd be
it is
curious to see if
it's the
Playboy
Grammys.
Cardi's "Whole Lot of Red" makes any noise at the Grammys.
Oh,
A
that'd
lot
be
of
interesting.
early predicting sites seem to give a decent chance. I'd imagine they'd put it in the rap categories because you don't know what else to do with that album,
Yeah,
which I wouldn't
metal.
blame them honestly.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep an eye out for, right? Like Young Thug's "Punk" not eligible came out too recently. I guess the other thing we shouldn't forget would be Jack Harlow's debut album from last December and Megan the Stallion's album "Good News." So Megan and Jack both Grammy nominated last year. Megan won. Probably the smart money would be at least one of them getting into this category, which means someone gets pushed out.
Hmm.
As long as Tyler's not the one being pushed out, I don't mind. But I really like to see 21 get in here, even though I don't know if it's super
Yeah.
likely.
Yeah. That'd be great. Any last thoughts on what you want to see or hope happens or predictions?
Yeah, man. Um,
Avalanches for EDM,
certainly,
electronic. Yeah.
certainly. Curious if Cuddy's, you know,
Hmm.
come back. It was widely accepted, Man on the Moon 3. Not that Cuddy had gone away, but Cuddy got a lot of admiration and got some flowers when he came back to hip hop in a earnest way like that, right?
Hmm.
So Man the Moon 3, maybe also kind of in the mix there. Not sure. But yeah, I'm really looking at how much does BTS get nominated in terms of does B break through? What happens with Best New Artist? We went through a
Mhm.
litany of eligible and worthy people, so I don't expect to be mad at the category. And yeah, we kind of reiterated that album of the year and even song and record of the year kind of a crapshoot when it comes to popular categories, more
Yep.
reflective of the year we've had than anything else. So yeah, I guess rap. I want to see them give the rap award out on the broadcast for once, and not just give it away at 4 p.m. before the broadcast starts.
Mhm.
That would show an acknowledgement of the reality of the music industry and what's popular and what's listened to and what's liked. So that'd be nice if they actually treated hip hop like a real category.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm rooting for.
Let's hope it happens. Just real quick, also hoping that Disclosure gets nominated in best electronic album.
Oh yeah.
Energy. Anyways, let's wrap up there. Drop your Grammy predictions if you're watching on YouTube.